somewhere in the darkness of the Arabian Sea. On paper or wet, this ship does not exist. Its cargo comes from nowhere. Its destination is unknown.
The United States has sanctioned 86% of the tankers in this fleet.
170 million barrels right now, floating at sea, waiting. This is Iran's $60 billion shadow fleet. And this plan is how it works. This is the heart of Iran's oil machine, a sprawling complex working 24 hours a day to meet global demand. Iran holds the fourth largest proven oil reserves on Earth, 156 billion barrels. At peak, before sanctions, Iran exported 4 million barrels per day. Today, under
Kharg Island, off the coast of southern Iran. 90% of Iran's oil exports.
Oil revenue funds 25% of Iran's entire government budget. It pays for the IRGC.
Which is why the United States has been trying to stop it since 1979. 47 years of sanctions. And Iran is still selling oil.
Iran's shadow fleet, officially, does not exist. But satellite tracking firms can see it, and so can we. The shadow fleet. For centuries they waited in the dark. Now, the age of man is over. The shadow fleet numbers in the hundreds. Aging tankers, many over 20 years old, that operate outside. Trick 1. AIS spoofing. The ship broadcasts a false GPS position, claiming to be somewhere it is not. Trick 2. Going dark. The transponder switches off completely. The ship vanishes from every tracking system. It travels invisible for weeks.
Trick 3. Flag hopping. The ship changes its country of registration. Panama today. Marshall Islands tomorrow.
Hold the stencil tight. Don't let it bleed.
Okay, spraying now. Make sure the S is clear.
Trick 5. Shell companies. The ship is owned by a company in Hong Kong, managed by a firm in Dubai. In 2025 alone, shadow tankers traveled from Iran, sanctioned 84% of the tankers involved in 2025. New ships were found. The fleet adapted. The oil kept moving.
The fundamental problem is not the sanctions themselves, but the lack of cohesive enforcement across member states. This undermines the entire strategy.
Because for every vessel the United States sanctions,
we've got high pressure on the manifold. Ease the flow rate.
Roger that. Backing it off slowly.
The most important step in the entire operation happens here, 20 miles off the Malaysian coast.
Ship-to-ship transfer. The Iranian tanker, laden with Iranian crude, pulls alongside a different vessel.
Bloomberg analyzed satellite imagery. The number of side-by-side ships in this area suggesting STS transfers. After the transfer, the oil's paperwork changes. New bills of lading, new certificates of origin. The oil.
Malaysia has fined vessels caught in these transfers. The fine for smuggling hundreds of millions of dollars of sanctioned oil. From Malaysia, the renamed vessel sails for Shandong province. Its cargo Bakut is city.
Officials Roscoe the detectives.
Here at Teapot Refineries, we forge the future, one vessel at a time.
Shandong Province, Eastern China, home to the most extraordinary concentration of oil refining capacity built for weight.
They are called teapots because of their modest scale. Small, independent refineries, not Sinopec.
At peak, Teapot Refineries processed 1.2 million barrels per day of Iranian crude.
The discount, $8 to $10 per barrel below the benchmark, saves China approximately $5 billion every year.
After processing, the sanctioned oil is rebranded. It leaves the refinery as products labeled as originating.
The U.S. Treasury sanctioned Hebei Xinhai Chemical Group in May 2025. It had bought $500 million of Iranian crude.
The construction of oil for oil deal. Chinese companies build airports and highways inside Iran. Iran pays not in cash but in.
China joined BRICS in 2024. Iran joined BRICS in 2024. Together, they are building a financial system.
Sell 50,000 at 5. I need an update on the Nikkei now.
Payment is the hardest problem. Iran cannot use SWIFT. Iranian banks are cut off from the global dollar system. So how does $60 billion move? Method 1. Front companies. Iranian oil companies sell through intermediaries in Hong Kong, the UAE, and. Method 2. Bank of Kunlun, a small Chinese bank that has facilitated Iranian transactions for.
Method 3. The renminbi. China pays for Iranian oil in Chinese yuan, not dollars.
Yuan. Method 4. Barter. Chinese construction companies build infrastructure inside Iran. Iran repays in oil.
The U.S. Treasury identified the Zarinsalam family Al-Khali using front companies in the UAE and Hong Kong. One analyst called it a sanctions evasion economy, not an exception to the system.
170 million barrels, an astonishing volume, representing the lifeblood of modern.
Right now, relief, 170 million barrels are floating at sea.
Chartering a very large crude carrier costs over $100,000 per day.
1/5 of Iran's oil revenue is consumed by transport and storage costs alone, before the discount, before the bribes.
In January 2026, as U.S.-Israel strikes began, Iranian crude at Chinese ports.
But China has built strategic reserves of 1.2 billion barrels. 109 days of cover.
The United States bore the cost of the Hormuz escort. China got the cheap oil. Both countries know exactly. The United States is not losing this battle because it isn't trying. In February 2026 alone,
Voyage times have actually shortened. In 2023, an Iran to China voyage took 85 to 90 days. In January 2026, India seized 3 Iranian tankers sanctioned by the US. Iran's response to.
The tracker firms, Kepler and Vortexa, can see almost everything. Satellite imaging, AIS data analysis.
The enforcement gap is real. To stop flow completely, the United States would need to sanction which is why donors. For 47 years, the oil has kept flowing. Because the alternative is worse.
We track the funds flow from Tehran through shell companies in Beirut directly to the Quds Force operations in Syria.
The Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps controls nearly half of Iran's oil export infrastructure. That revenue funds Hezbollah in Lebanon, the Houthis in Yemen, Hamas in Gaza, and armed militias in Iran.
The United States knows this. China knows this. The buyers in Shandong know this. The discount they received were $10.
There is a direct financial line, documented by the U.S. Department of Justice, from a barrel of Iranian crude to a billion-dollar trafficking network. Prosecuted in 2024, dismantled in 2025, rebuilt.
The year 2026 marked a turning point.
U.S. Israel strikes on Iruz.
No ships, no tankers willing to enter a war zone. The Ghost Armada, fearless against sanctions, stopped dead by actual missiles.
Oil prices hit $166. China's Teapot refineries, dependent on cheap Iranian crude. China drew on its strategic reserve, 109 days of cover. The reserve that was built, barrel by barrel.
By late March, selective reopenings. China-bound ships allowed through. The shadow fleet resumed.
What truth is? The 2026 crisis proved something important. The shadow fleet is not just in sanctions evasion.
The question for 2026 and beyond, Seng, is not whether the shadow fleet will survive. It will. The question...
From the smallest circuits to the vast expanse of the cosmos, everything is connected. Join us as we explore the bigger picture.
The Iran shadow fleet is not unique. Russia uses the same system.
Shadow fleet tankers now represent 17% of all tankers transporting oil by sea. 1 in 6 oil tankers. These vessels operate outside insurance markets. They carry no P&I cover. When they have accidents, oil spills.
The New Zealand P&I Club, a legitimate insurance company, was exposed in October 2025 for insuring 1/6 of the shadow.
The China-Iran 25-year, $400 billion cooperation agreement, signed 2021.
At the United Nations Security Council, China and Russia blocked the reimposition of sanctions on Iran.
The United States spends $30 billion per year maintaining the military presence that keeps the Strait of Hormuz open.
This is the world oil market of 2026. Not a free market, not a sanctioned market.
And so we reach the end of our story. But perhaps it is only the beginning of yours.
Somewhere off the coast of Malaysia, right now, Gyun, 2 tankers are pulling alongside each other. Oil is being pumped from one to the other.
On one tanker, a crew of 20 Filipino sailors who are not involved in geopolitics. They are just doing their job.
The oil reaches Shandong. It is refined. It becomes gasoline, diesel, fuel oil. It heats home.
Back in Tehran, the oil revenue pays the salary of a teacher, a nurse, an engineer. It also pays the salary of an IRGC officer.
The shadow fleet is $60 billion of human ingenuity applied to the problem. The United States has not lost. Iran has not won. The world is paying the price in elevated...
In the darkness of the Arabian Sea, a tanker switches off its GPS, and the $60 billion machine keeps running.
Introduce a friend to get 20% off. The more friends you refer, the higher the discount, up to 40% and even 60% off your next call.
The global supply chain is complex, but we break it down for you. Subscribe now for exclusive data and expert analysis you won't find anywhere else.
What do you think, Kamway? Can sanctions ever stop the shadow fleet? Comment below.
End card. Next video preview.